Hey guys, it's Heather from Here She Grows, and I'm in the back corner of my garden, which doesn't seem like it's all that big of a deal, but it really is because of the trees that are planted here and what these trees do for my backyard. So over 10 years ago, I planted 2 pussy willow trees, which were quite small, so that's what's flanking each side, and a river birch. I had a really bad water retention issue. It was like a swamp back here because our yards are sloped and everybody's ejector pumps shot out back here. So these trees were planted to manage that, so they love water, and it did a great job. But then I noticed over time that I started being visited by red-spotted purple butterflies, eastern tiger swallowtails, viceroy butterflies, and mourning cloaks, and it's because of these trees. They're host plants for those butterflies. And I also have a pretty significant bird population, and I think all that's due in large part because of the insects that I welcome into my garden. The birds feed on the larvae that the butterflies who lay their eggs in these trees, and the larva feeds off the leaves and everything, and then the birds come in, they eat those larvae, and they feed their young. So I've got an entire ecosystem back here because of these 3 trees in a simple backyard. So I've partnered with the National Wildlife Federation and a program they have called Garden for Wildlife, and all the links will be below so that you can check it out and dive a little deeper into this. So Garden for Wildlife is a program meant to help backyard gardeners like you and me introduce native plants into our landscapes so that we can help support our native bee populations, all of our insect populations, and ultimately our bird populations too. It's a big deal, and the birds are in such a decline. I think bird populations are down by 30%. We have about 4,000 native bee species in our country, a third of which are pollen-specific feeders, which means that they only feed on pollen from certain plants. So if you don't have those plants in your garden, you're not helping to support those native bee populations. So the goal of this program, Garden for Wildlife, is to introduce you to native plants that will help support the populations that are specific to your region of the United States. So I'll have all the links below, and it's a really cool program because it's kind of a bit of a hand holder when you're not familiar with native, and it's hard to know what to plant when you're just starting out. So this is a program that holds your hand, explains to you what you're supporting, and the plants are very simple. So Garden for Wildlife partnered with Dr. Tallamy, who is a professor of entomology and wildlife ecology at the University of Delaware. So with Dr. Tallamy and his team of researchers at the university, they've identified different plants, which they refer to as keystone plants. So, and you can read about that in his book. This is a wonderful book, by the way, Nature's Best Hope, and he's also the author of Bringing Nature Home. So I would encourage you to pick up this book at the library or wherever you can find it. It's a great read if you're interested in planting for wildlife, which is what I'm interested in. And that's a huge part of why I garden, because my garden is the reason why all of these different bird species, and I have a ton of different types of bees and butterflies, my garden is why they come here, is because of what I have and what I plant specifically for them. So Garden for Wildlife partnered with Dr. Tallamy and his researchers at the University of Delaware to identify the different plant species that help support these different wildlife populations. So, and that's what's included in these plant packs that I'm going to share with you in a moment. So it's a really cool thing. What they have in this book, if you pick up this book, you'll read about what they call keystone plants. So keystone refers to the center stone in ancient Roman arches, whether it was bridges that they were building, whatever they were building, all the arches had what's called a keystone. So that's the center stone of a structure. And that center stone is responsible for supporting the rest of the stones that are in line after it. So it supports the whole structure. When you lose that keystone structure, you lose the support of that entire structure. So keystone plants are what they call plants that are really crucial to restoring or maintaining certain populations of bees and butterfly insects. So those are your keystone plants. So in these plant packs that they've put together, these are all keystone plants to support populations of creatures in your region of the United States. So I'm going to share with you what I ordered, and there's a couple different plant packs that you can order. They have ones that are specific for shade, part shade, and full sun. So, and you can buy as many plant packs as you want. So I ordered the smaller, the 6 plant pack for part sun. So I've got limited space. I've pretty heavily planted garden. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't overorder and not have a place to put these plants. So I started small with a 6 plant pack, and it was part sun. So you don't have to plant these in the garden. You can put them in containers. And what's really nice about this program is they hold your hand, and when you order your plant pack, you'll get an explanation of the different species you're supporting. So in this particular plant pack that I'm going to show you in a moment, I'm supporting 36 species of bees, 26 species of butterflies, and 96% of backyard birds that rely on insects to feed their young. So it's a pretty important thing, and you're helping to support a variety of species in a very small backyard, and which is the whole point of this program. It's a grassroots program to support backyard insect and bird populations. The other side has information on planting plans. They also have a link that you can go to. You can sign up and you can get updates and explanations for what's happening with plants and how your plants should be looking right now. And also not to be concerned if the plant is starting to look pretty tattered. If they're chewed up, it means that those plants are doing what they're supposed to be doing. You probably have larvae from some butterfly or moth feeding on those plants, which is the whole point of this anyway. So they're not going to be looking pristine. And you want them to look that way. It's reassuring to know that things are eating it, things are thriving on it, and you planted it for that reason. So it's also important to remember too that these don't have to be planted in the ground, which is really nice, because if you don't have the space, you can do some container gardening as well and put them in containers on a patio, on your porch, wherever you've got it. But it's meant to start small and to start growing your knowledge of native plants and how you're benefiting the ecosystem in your backyard. So next, let's show you the plants. So this is how they come. I ordered the 6 plant pack, which it's called the Pollinator Power Pack for part sun gardens. They also have a monarch munchable pack for full sun. You can order a 6 plant pack or a 12 plant pack. That's kind of a tongue twister. A 12 plant pack, depending on the amount of space that you have. So there's 2 of each variety in the 6 plant pack. So I've got Geranium maculatum is here. Lobelia, let's see. Lobelia syphilitica, or great blue lobelia, is here. This one here. And then this one is aster. So this is called Astromacrophyllus, big-leaved aster is here. So 2 of each of those. And they come packaged well. And we've had so much rain here. These came about a week ago. We've had a ton of rain, and this is our first day where it's cleared up really nice, so I'm going to be planting these today. These 6 plants are meant to fill about a 4 by 6 foot space. And if you don't have that kind of space, you can put these in containers or space them, scatter them wherever you have space. But eventually, as they take root and get a little bigger, you might start seeing leaves being tattered and chewed on, which is the whole point of this, because then you know you're helping to support a species that really enjoys these plants. So you can also choose the monarch munchable plant collection too, which is for full sun, and so that would have things like Asclepias or milkweed. What else do we have in there? More asters, beard tongue foxglove. I think there's some coreopsis in there. So you get a nice selection of plants that are proven host plants, supporters for wildlife in the garden. So they come well packaged, which also I should mention too, when you order your plant pack, you will enter in your zip code so that you will have plants that are specific to your zone. So they mix them up based on what plants are keystone plants for your region. And these are the keystone plants for my region. I'm in Zone 5B, Illinois. And this is how they come. And then you've got the plant tags included with an explanation of what you're growing here. So for the Geranium maculatum, this is native perennial, is partial to shady woodland areas and spreads quickly to form a ground cover, nice red autumn color, which is nice because I'm always gardening for fall color as well. So I should have some nice fall color with the geranium. And I love geranium as it is. I've got Geranium macrorhizum throughout the garden. Such a valuable plant. Asters are wonderful too for the fall color. And that's it. It's really simple to add a few plants to whether you have a backyard or maybe you just have a patio or a porch. You can put these in containers. This is a great program for really helping to support and sustain our native bee and insect and bird populations in our backyard. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.